2026 January 8th was one of those ANC January 8th events that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. It was a day of pure desperation. You could feel it in the air. Reports were circulating everywhere that even President Cyril Ramaphosa himself was reportedly wanting to cancel the entire event. Why? Because the once mighty liberation movement was failing to do something that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. They couldn't even fill a stadium with a capacity of just 20,000 people. Think about that for a second. The ANC, which used to pack out 90,000-seater stadiums like FNB, was now trembling at the thought of an empty 20,000-seat venue in Marang. It was a clear sign that the wheels weren't just coming off. The engine had completely stalled. Before we discuss the heavy details I have for you today and really pull back the curtain on what's happening behind the scenes, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you this kind of deep dive analysis. Thanks for that. Now let's get into it. To understand how we got to that empty stadium in 2026, we have to look back at the criminal activities and the shady money that was circulating just a year prior. I want you to see the reality of how these events are actually put together. And on that note, production team, please show the video of Kat Matala's testimony.
Do you ever pay for that January 8?
Yes, I did.
How much?
I will say between 150 and 200. I'm not quite sure about it.
Did you pay the money to the account given by Mkhotsi?
Yes, there's also proof of payments for that.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to speak to this matter? Okay. Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Skosana, Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Mwango.
Yeah, so when you paid this 150,000, was it upon request from Mr. Brown Mkhotsi? I mean,
yes.
So he requested.
Yes, but I didn't pay 150 once. It was accommodation, flights.
So did he specify why he wanted the money? What he wanted the money for? Did he say that, can you give us this assistance for this activity?
Yes, he said that.
He said for January 8.
Yes.
Did he mention who was also to benefit from that amount?
Yes, he said the minister.
So he was asking the money on behalf of the minister. That is how he requested for it.
According to him, yes.
According to him.
Yes.
Him and the minister, or the minister only?
Say that again?
Him and the minister, according to his request, was it for him and the minister or for the minister only?
No, it was, from what I understand, the minister sent him to go and ask for donations there and there.
Okay.
And then I was one of them.
Okay.
And then he asked me that money so I can donate for them for this January 8th thing of theirs. So I don't know who was going to benefit there.
So you just send the money, you don't know how it was spent and on what? You don't know. You just sent it.
Okay. The flights, I paid them directly. I knew this is why the flights, because he sent me the ID numbers.
Okay.
So I have them on my WhatsApp chats.
So which ID numbers did he send? For who?
For different people.
For different people?
I think maybe 10 or... I don't remember how many people.
The ID number also has, I assume, when you book for a person, you use an ID number and full names.
He sent me copies of IDs.
Okay. So was an ID of the minister part of those copies?
No.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
What you just saw is Vuzamuzi Kat Matlala testifying before an ad hoc committee. Now let's analyze what he's actually saying here, because the dots he's connecting are explosive. Matlala is a security boss who was involved in a massive 360 million rand contract with the South African Police Service, a contract that was later flagged for serious irregularities. But look at what he admits to in this testimony. He openly talks about funding ANC activities. When the committee asks him if he paid for January 8th events, he doesn't hesitate. He says, "Yes, I did." When they ask how much, he says it was between 150,000 rands and 200,000 rands. He even confirms there is proof of payment for this. He didn't just dump the money into a general account. He paid for very specific things. He mentions paying for accommodation and flights directly. He even says he has the ID numbers of the people he bought flights for right there on his WhatsApp. This is the smoking guns. Now let's move forward to 2026. Please show the video of Cyril Ramaphosa embarrassing himself at the 2026 January 8th ANC event.
We want to create jobs and economic opportunities, and opportunities to use young people to use their energy, their creativity and innovation to build their communities and their country. However, we must also recognize that our own weaknesses and failures in service delivery, in governance and slow pace of economic growth, as well as the high levels of unemployment, have demoralized and alienated many individuals in our country. Le go menagane go le jwalo, re tshwanetse gape go lemoga gore ha re palelwa borona mo ditirong tse tshwantseng gore di dietse, batho ba fellwa ke pelo, ba tsamaya ba tloga gaufi le rona. Re tshwanetse gore re etse matsapa ohle re le ANC, re bontshe sentle gore re sebeletsa setšhaba sa heso. We cannot blame our people if they question whether our democracy, our constitution or our economy, and indeed our movement and the alliance really work for them. It is these weaknesses and failures that the tasks outlined below seek to address. Re a dumela gore there are areas where there have been shortcomings, but we now, as the ANC, focus on the tasks that the National Executive Committee has outlined that we need to address and embark upon to correct those weaknesses in order for the African National Congress to serve the interests of our people.
In this video, you hear Ramaphosa making some very telling admissions. He stands there and says, the ANC must recognize its own weaknesses and failures in service delivery. He talks about the slow pace of economic growth and the high levels of unemployment that have demoralized and alienated the people of South Africa. He's basically admitting that the party has failed the country. He even goes as far as to say, we cannot blame our people if they question whether our democracy, our constitution, or our movement really work for them. But the real story of 2026 isn't in Ramaphosa's scripted speech. It's in the reaction from the people who are actually living through this. I want to spend some time analyzing the comments on these videos because they represent a level of collective awakening that we haven't seen before. We need to read these out loud because these voices are the ones being ignored by the elites. Please show the photo of the comment from Lindiwe Keswazavi. Lindiwe writes, why are people practicing social distancing in the stadium? Is there 19 there? Now, look at the depth of that sarcasm. This isn't just a joke about an empty stadium. Lindiwe is pointing out the absolute physical distance between the ANC and the masses. In 2026, the social distancing she sees isn't about a virus. It's about a political divorce. People stayed home. They didn't want the t-shirt. They didn't want the bus ride. The empty seats are a silent protest. And Lindewee's comment captures the irony of a party that claims to be for the people but can't find 20,000 of them to show up for its biggest day. Please show the photo of the comment from Thabo Macau. Thabo says, "So the ANC held a private function and only invited 114 people." This is a brilliant piece of analysis from Thabo. By calling it a private function, he is highlighting how the African National Congress has transitioned from a broad-based liberation movement into an exclusive club for the politically connected. When you only have a handful of people in a 20,000-seat stadium, it stops being a public rally and starts looking like a secret meeting of the elites. Thabo is saying that the masses are no longer invited to the party because the party no longer serves the masses. It serves the ministers and the matlalas who fund the flights. Please show the photo of the comment from Kathleen Ann. Kathleen says that record or vinyl is stuck. Kathleen is cutting right through Ramaphosa's speech. She is saying that we've heard this all before. The renewal, the acknowledgement of failures, the focus on the youth. It's a broken record that has been playing since 2018. Every January 8th, they play the same track, but the reality on the ground never changes. The stuck record is a metaphor for a party that is incapable of evolving because it is trapped in its own cycle of corruption and patronage. Please show the photo of the comment from Tabang Maropa. Tabang writes, "I suddenly remember that Whitney Houston song, same script, different cast. This goes even deeper." Tabang is telling us that it doesn't matter who is standing at the podium, whether it's Ramaphosa or anyone else. The script remains the same. The promises are identical, but the actors just change their masks. It's a performance. The cast of leaders might change, but the underlying plot of service delivery failure and economic stagnation remains the dominant storyline of the country. But now we get to the most important comment of all. The one that bridges the gap between the empty stadium and the absolute arrogance of the leadership. Please show the photo of the comment from Valentine King. Valentine writes, "But Mantash has said government is not an employment agency." Huh? So who must give us jobs when they are the ones destroying the economy with their corruption? This comment is a direct hit on Gwed Mantas, the national chairperson of the ANC. Valentine is exposing the massive gaping wound in the ANC's logic. How can you tell the people to find their own way when you are the one killing the economy? To understand the level of betrayal Valentine is feeling, we have to look at what Mantash actually said in his recent interview. Now please show the video of Gwed Mantash on SABC.
Now over 70. I've never had a government looking for a job for me. You know that? Never. I went to Teba, I took a contract, went to the mines, worked as a miner, went back home, bought cattle, bought sheep, went back to the mines, and I did that. The difference is that today, because there's a progressive government, people expect that government to go and give them jobs. They don't look for jobs. And that must change. I'm sure to be here in SABC yourself, you look for an advert, you applied, you got into SABC. Not the SAB looking for you. You looked for a job and you got employed. And people must begin to appreciate that you do queue up for a job, you get employed, adverts are not going to employ you. You will have to look for the advert and apply in real terms. If you don't do that, you're not going to be employed. And I'm going back to the point I made. Let's move out of being a passive society to be an active society.
He says something that reveals everything. We didn't struggle to be passive. We struggled to build a country to be part of finding solutions. We must all be part of solution of the country and not be dependent on the state or the ANC for solutions. Not be dependent on the state or the ANC for solutions. This is the national chairperson of the ruling party telling people not to depend on the ruling party. What is the point of having a government if people shouldn't depend on it? What is the point of voting for the ANC if the ANC is telling you not to expect anything from them? Then comes the most insulting part. Mantas says, "Now over 70, I've never had a government looking for a job for me. You know that never I went to Tabor, took a contract, went to the mines, worked as a miner, went back home, bought cattle, bought sheep, went back to the mines, and I did that. The difference is that today, because there is a progressive government, people expect that government to go and give them jobs. They don't look for jobs, and that must change. Let me address this directly. Guy is over 70 years old. He grew up in apartheid South Africa. He went to work in the mines when there were mining jobs available. Yes, they were terrible jobs with dangerous conditions and low wages, but they were jobs. Today, we have unemployment at over 30%. We have young people with degrees who cannot find work. The economy has changed. The world has changed. But Gwed Mantashe wants to compare his experience in the 1960s and 70s to what young people face today. The arrogance in those words is breathtaking. Mantashe is sitting there, a man who has been at the top of the political food chain for decades, and he is blaming the youth for being passive. He is telling a 30-year-old in 2026 to look for an advert, ignoring the fact that his government has presided over an economy where adverts for decent jobs are as rare as an honest politician. He talks about his time in the mines, but he conveniently forgets that he worked in an era where the mining industry wasn't being decimated by the very policies and corruption his party oversees. Now let's connect the final dots. On one hand, you have Kat Matlala admitting that he donates 200,000 rands for January 8th flights because a minister asked for it. That is active corruption. That is active money laundering. On the other hand, you have Mantashe calling the poor and the unemployed passive because they can't find jobs in an economy that his party has hollowed out. The ANC leadership is happy to be active when it comes to taking money from security bosses like Matlala, but they want the public to be active enough to survive without any help from the state. Mantashe says people shouldn't be dependent on the state or the ANC for solutions. But the ANC is completely dependent on the Matlalas of the world for its survival. They take the money, they fly in the private jets, they stay in the luxury hotels, all paid for by the assistance that Matlala mentioned, and then they have the nerve to tell a hungry young person in a village that they are being too dependent. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the end, you're part of the solution. You're someone who cares enough about South Africa to understand how corruption works, how the system is rigged, how our democracy has been captured by criminals. Please share this video. Please like it. Please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. We need to build an army of informed citizens who demand accountability. We need to stop accepting empty promises and start demanding real change. The fight for South Africa's future is not going to be won in parliament or in cabinet meetings or at January 8th celebrations funded by Kat Matlala's dirty money. It's going to be won in conversations like this, in comment sections, in communities where people share information and open each other's eyes to the truth. The ANC might have the corrupt money, but we have the truth, and in the end, the truth will always come out and wins.